Hello friends and welcome. As you can see, I have put a blanket down on my mat. You don't necessarily need it. We don't need it for slip and slide today, but we're gonna do some side lying work. And in case your hip is sensitive at all when you lie on your side, sometimes simply putting a padding down underneath it can be a really wonderful tool. And since it's a little chilly in the mornings nowadays, I put one down just to have an extra layer of warmth and comfort. So you can go ahead and do that. And then find an upright posture just for the first little bit before we come down onto our backs. And from your upright posture, we're going to go into the skull shining breath, right? Kapalabhati, which is that one we worked last week. We have a passive inhale and a forceful exhale. One, a little bit of lung clearing and sinus clearing is part of the reason that we're doing it. And two, just to give us a little bit of energy. And we're going to use that with our core work on the ground. And so I want to find it here first, because it's of course easier to find here than when you're doing core work. So find yourself in your upright posture, scanning through the body, noticing where it's at this moment in time. And of course, if we come to that breath and we start to find a nice, calm, smooth breath, I'll call it, chances are great that the body will follow suit. And if you need to open your eyes to look at me, you can, but you can also just follow my voice, right? You might want to blow your nose before we start if you have any excess mucus lying around. So it's a passive inhale and a forceful exhale. Put one hand on your belly, and with your mouth closed, cough a couple of times like you're clearing your throat. And so you probably feel those muscles of the low abdomen coming back and in to do that, right? Those are the muscles that we're targeting. You can leave your hand on the belly or bring the hand back down, and it sounds something like this. You can make that a faster pace or a slower pace. Find the pace that works for you. We're going to try and do about 20 seconds here, and then we'll add it in again later with core work. So here we go. And go ahead and go back to regular pattern of breath. And open those eyes. Let's come down onto our back. And from your back body, right, first just have your feet on the ground with the knees bent. Bring your right knee into your chest, and let's just say hi to that low back and wake that up just a little before we go into some bigger moves here. And release that right foot down, bring the left leg in, and go ahead and hug it in. And again, just asking that low back, that sacrum, wherever you feel tightness, to release. On me on the left side, it's in the front of my hip. My psoas is really clinging today. Okay, hey psoas, you don't have to do that so much. Go ahead and bring that left foot down, right? And then bring that right leg in, interlace behind the thigh, and push the heel up to the sky. Let's take that right foot and start to circle the big toe a few times. And going the other way. And, you know, just find a pace where you can be mindful. If you feel like notice you're rushing, you know, again, I just encourage you, we don't need to do that here as well as the rest of our life usually. Go ahead and push that heel up, thigh into hands, lengthen the low back, and bring that foot down. Bring that left knee in and interlace behind, heel pushes up. Let's take that left big toe and start to circle that left big toe. When you're ready, you'll go the other direction. Just waken some stuff up here. That's the intention. And then as you push that heel up and that thigh forward, hopefully the low back gets nice and long, the back of the leg gets long. Left foot comes down. And then let's do one more. Bring that right knee in, extend your left leg out,
Left arm can come out. And then just go ahead and bring that right knee first kind of up towards your right armpit a little bit, whatever that looks like and feels like in your body. Activate the left leg. We'll get into more strength there in a moment. And then go ahead and let the knee start to move just a little forward till your knee is more in line, I'm going to call it, with the right hip. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So I'm at about, well, it's not a 90-degree angle, but it's at the same height. I don't know. My femur bone would be parallel to a wall in front of me if I had a wall in front of me, right? Does that make sense? And I'm going to keep that left hip down and let that right inner groin say good morning. And then you can release that foot to the ground and just slide that leg back out to its position. Soft legs on both sides for a moment. And then we're going to activate the legs, get them ready, right? Bring the left leg in, and your left hand comes onto that left knee, right arm can tee out, and you're going to hug that knee first up towards the armpit, so it's up pretty high right now, almost like a child, half child's pose on your back. And then go ahead and release that knee out again until your knee, your femur bone is approximately parallel to a wall, an imaginary or not, wall in front of you, right? And let that leg get heavy even though the right hip stays heavy. And then bring that left foot down to the ground and go ahead and extend it whoosh all the way out and just pause for a moment with soft legs. And notice what you notice. Pardon me. Okay. Now moving on. We're going to go ahead and we're going to roll over onto our side waist. I'm going to say left side waist, but if you need to turn your body so you can see me, I am going to do rights and lefts because my brain is not moving too fast today, and I might forget I'm doing top bottoms. If it's okay for me to extend that arm out, that bottom arm, I can make that my pillow. If it's better for me to bring in a blanket or a block and have that arm out of there, I do that. Take care of your shoulder, please. I come into a shape of an arrow with the rest of my body, and I'm going to leave my right fingertips, down on the ground. Oh, I already goofed up, didn't I? If I were mirroring, I would be on my right side body. I asked you to get on your left. So it would be the left fingertips down on the ground. I hope I did that right. Sorry, friends. It's one of those mornings. And I'm in the shape of an arrow, recapping. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to simply lift my right leg just up enough so that it's in line with my buttocks bone. So I'm not lifting it high. I'm only lifting it just to the height of being in line with my buttocks bone, right? And I'm going to flex my feet and push my feet into imaginary walls, all three corners. And then I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to put it up on this hip right here, the very top of the hip. There's a number of things going on in there, but there's a muscle in there I want to target called the abductor. We worked on these last week, right? And it's part of the stabilization of the pelvis as well as what makes your leg, can help your leg move from side to side. So we're simply holding the leg in space at this moment in time, right? And then bring that down, bend the knees and soften, and pause for a moment. So that's hopefully targeting your abductor. Now let's do a couple of clamshells and then we'll do one more piece of work here, right? Keep your big toes together and open that top knee, that right knee up, and come on down. It helps me to put my hand on my hip and knee's gonna move up, find your own rhythm, right? Because my hip, most humans, our hips wanna move a little bit back and or jerk up to the shoulders. So I'm gonna keep that hip moving down and I'm gonna use that abductor to stabilize and try not to let the pelvis move one iota as I lift my knee. So really pay attention to this area, not the lifting of the knee so much. It might be an inch for you before things want to move, and that's as far as you would go today. Again, don't worry about height. And then from there, one more lift up, stay up and pulse up. Baby, baby pulses on 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that knee down and just pause. So hopefully now you're feeling the back of that right hip, targeting the buttocks there. And then we're going to bring that right fingertips down. We're going to extend out again. And this time we're going to do a little more lifting, right? So we're going to start with a pretty neutral area where we just were, about the height of the buttocks bone. And without this hip moving up or back, so again, concentrate on your abductors right here and lift only as high as you can, right? Without that pelvis moving. And really try to concentrate on that, right? Try to find that. And you're going in and out. And you're pausing. You're trying not to bring the foot all the way down to the left foot and rest on it. You're trying to just go to the height of the buttocks bone and then out to the side again. Of course, when I lift the leg up, I'm using my abductors, and when I bring the leg down, if I control that, I'm using the inner groin, the adductors. So go ahead and do about 1 or 2 more of those. And the next time you're up, pause there without the pelvis moving. Baby pulses on 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that down, roll onto your back body, and just pause for a moment there. And breathe. And I'm wondering if your right lower body feels any differently than your left. I'm laughing because mine feels so different, so very different. Right? And then we're going to do that on the other side. Some flip-flop sides here. You'll be lying on your, what I hope is your right side if I did that correctly. Right? And you'll extend that right arm out or use a blanket or a block or whatever you need to just support. This part really isn't that important today. It's just a way that we can lay to support ourselves, right? And I'm coming into the shape of an arrow. My left fingertips are on the ground. I tone my corset in, right? And then from there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to lift the leg just to simply to the height of the buttocks bone. So don't go too high. Try not to move the pelvis back or let the hip move up to the shoulder, right? I'll say that 20 more times today. That's really our main concentration, is trying to keep the pelvis completely neutral, right? And not let it move as we move the leg itself. Can you separate those two things? And as always, the answer may be no, and then now you know that, right? Bring that down and bend the knees. Pause for just a moment. Already my hip wants to move up. That's just the nature of laying on the ground, and the waist moves down, right? So tone the abdomen. I'm going to put my hand on my hip, and I'm going to push it a little bit that way and just hold it in position. And I'm going to really work this area of this side waist as I lift my knee, right? And of course, the glutes are what's doing the knee lifting. I am asking you to stabilize the pelvis and concentrate on that part of it more than the lifting of the knee, right? And breathing, finding your own rhythm, your own pace. And the next time you're up, we've got those baby pulses on 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the knee down and pause for just a moment. Extend the legs out. Again, you're in that arrow shape. If you ever need to, I should have thrown that out there on the other side. You can bend this bottom knee and just work the top leg if you want a little more stabilization or you're having a hard time stabilizing the pelvis. So again, I'm not going to let this hip move, right? I tone the corset. I also try to get that right side waist, not to just down into the ground. I come to the height of my buttocks bone, and that's my what I'm going to call neutral for this particular series, right? And then I'm without anything moving at all. I'm going to try to lift that leg, and it doesn't matter how high you go. Don't look at me or try to get to my height or beat me. Whatever comes up for you, get out of that, right? Keep that pelvis super stable, especially the part where my hand is on my body. Your hand does not have to be there. It can be in front of you. I'm simply pointing out the area we're working with today, right? And I'm moving up and coming down. I'm not resting on the earth with my foot. I'm trying to bring it back to the height of the buttocks. And then the next time we're up, let's do our baby pulses. Up on 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Don't let that hip move up to the shoulder. Bring it down. Roll onto your back body and just pause there for a moment and notice what you notice. And breathe. Okay, so one more piece, and then we're going to bring it into a standing pose. So go ahead and extend your left leg all the way out to straight. Flex the foot and work the thigh. Your left arm is going to tee out. No, sorry, your left hand is going to come to the waist. I take that back. Your right arm is going to tee out, and I am mirroring just in case that's helpful, right? And then I'm going to let that right leg move down, But then without anything moving over here on the left side of my body, I'm going to move my right foot out as wide as I can away from my body. And I'm going to externally rotate that thigh bone, right? So I could say your toes come closer to the ground, right? Moving out. But again, never move from toes. Don't move from knee joints. Move from the femur bone. You're wiser than that at this point in time, right? And pause. It's not a hard pose. It's not crazy muscular. We're doing this because we're going to look at half moon pose, where your right leg would be your standing leg. Your hand will be on a block, right? And I'm going to have you put your hand on your waist today because that leg is going to be lifting, and we're going to concentrate on that outer groin, I'm going to call it. A weird term, but. And go ahead and bring that in, just that. So now activate the left leg. Toes are pointing up. The thigh and the hip move down. I'm going to bring my left hand to my waist, right at the top of my pelvis, right where those abductors are. And then from there, I'm going to get that right leg. I'm going to slide it out, tee the right arm out, and then externally rotate that right thigh bone. Your toes will point up and out towards the, move towards the floor, I guess. But again, try not to move from your knees or your toes. Try to move from the femur bone itself. This is the trickier side for me personally. This leg has a hard time with external rotation. And then go ahead and bring that in. So now, as promised, a little bit of core with that breath we worked earlier. So bring your feet on the ground with the knees bent. Bring your knees into your chest and bring your arms down by your side, palms down, shoulders down. And reach the heels up to the sky. If you need a bend in your knees, that is okay. We're going to have 3 stops along the way. And again, don't let it be that you've got to try to get to the ground. I get so irritated with us always trying to like maximize our core workout, you know, and just like totally do abdominal crap. Get out of that. Right? So before you even go, I want you to move your thighs forward into your hands as if they were there and find the length of the low back, and then those hands, those muscles you had your hands on, that's correct, on the side waist, kind of side hips. I want you to hug your outer hips and your outer waist in, and then go ahead and drop about 2 inches. Just start small. Everybody, please push the heels out, lengthen the legs, and then try not to let your low back bow. Normally we concentrate on the front and back of the body. Today I'm concentrating on side, right? So hug the hips in, hug the hips in, hug the hips in, hug the outer waist, and then go to that second spot. And then hug and hug and hug, go to that third spot. And hug and hug and hug and hug, and bring those knees in. Okay, so that's the movement. This time we're going to try to do that with the Kapalabhati breath. Now, if you're like, no, just do the movement of the legs, right? And I'm going to try and talk less so I can kind of hear, you can hear my breathing as well. And I'll say 1, and we'll take about 5 breaths. We'll go 2, we'll take about 5 breaths. We'll go 3, we'll take about 5 breaths, and we'll hug the knees in. Hands down, shoulders down. Reach the heels up, starting at that 90. Thighs forward, low back long. Hug the outer waist and outer hips in. Here we go. That was in 1, sorry. 2. 3. Bring those knees in. Pause for a moment, and we're going to try and do that one more time. I'll say 1 this time before I start the breath. Reach the heels up. And 1. 2. 3. Hug outer hips in which it's in, something about there, and bring the knees in. Put the feet down on the ground and pause, arms out, palms up. Okay, grab the backs of the knees and rock up. Remove the blanket. If you were working with a blanket, you'd want your sticky mat back. Put a block at what's going to be the top side of your mat. Take off socks if you have on socks, probably. No, not the socks, anything but the socks. And then from there, go ahead and we're just going to step into triangle, and from triangle we'll move up towards our side, our Ardha Chandrasana half moon. Before you go, watching one thing, right? So I'll talk about this. You just did this on the ground, by the way, but I'm going to have you put your hand on your waist so that when you come in, you can find this idea of contracting here just a little bit, which may seem like you're not going as low,
but you're actually keeping the spine elongated. The school I come from, triangle is an elongated spine, and you only go as far in as you can, and obviously it can be taught differently and sometimes is, right? But we're keeping it long today because of this, right? Because then when we go into that half moon, we may lose it a little bit on the way in, but once we get here, right, we want to establish that again, that engagement of the abductors, this hugging in to try to keep everything on the same plane, the pelvis neutral, the spine elongated, maybe straightening that bottom leg and working that line today. Y'all ready? Block is on standby. It's a little in front of the pinky toe of that right foot. I'm going to turn my left heel back, my right foot out, my right leg out. And then from there, again, today, please bear with me. Play with me. Don't bear with me. Just play with me, right? Put your left hand on your waist, and we're going to leave it there for pretty much the whole time, right? Now from there, I'm going to reach that right arm out, move the right hip back, and start to move in a triangle. And rather than going low today, I'd rather have you come just a little higher if that's what it takes, right? And under the hand right there, I want you to engage the muscles there slightly and the low abdomen so that your spine is elongated and, quote, neutral, right? And the pelvis has a neutrality to it as well. Push that back heel down, push down through the ball mound, hug the hip in, all the usual suspects. And just leave your hand there for the transition. Look down, bend that right knee, step forward a little with the left foot, and put your hand on the block. Get situated, right? Now, put the weight in the right leg and lift the left leg. Keep the right knee bent, if you please try to, right? And then from there, rotate your ribs a little towards the device, or where the long edge of your mat side, right? And then push that right heel, that left heel further back, the crown of the head forward. And now with your hand on that waist, can you again engage from right there? And does that help your leg lift when you engage that side waist outer hip, right? Maybe you straighten that right leg, maybe you don't. And then keep that engagement on that under that left hand, but maybe the left arm now reaches up, right? And we're going to step back through triangle. So bend that front knee and try to gracefully step back as best you can. Come in a triangle for one breath, and that arm can be lifted. And come all the way up and turn the toes forward. And just notice what that brings to trying to balance. It might be completely foreign and take you off your game. You've always balanced one way before. These muscles have never been engaged. Now that we're asking them to, it just totally throws you off. If that's the case, work this more, right? And maybe all of a sudden you found something that's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like I've never worked from that place and I'm finding this positive thing, right? So you can just kind of gauge if and how that helps this balancing work, right? Right heel back, whole left leg out. Right hand's going to live, and again, I'm not just on the side waist itself. I'm trying to be right at the top of my pelvis, and I'm trying to think of a little below my hand and a little above my hand, that whole idea of engagement, that idea of engagement through that whole area. Reach that left arm out, move the left hip back, and lengthen, 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 and bring the hand down. And again, you might not go as low as you normally go. Please don't today. Underneath that hand, I want you to think of all of that muscular area slightly engaging. You'll feel yourself get higher. That is correct, right? And hopefully now the pelvis is neutral, my spine is elongated, and that's what I'm looking for in just a moment on one leg. It's harder there. Turn and look down. Keep that hand on the waist. Bend the left knee. Step the right foot in and get your hands situated. Now put the weight fully in the left foot, yeah? And then as you go to lift that leg, go ahead and lift that right leg. Rotate the ribs a little bit, but then concentrate on the area underneath your hand. Again, can you engage that area? And does that help that leg lift to the height of the buttocks bone? Maybe the left leg opens, maybe it doesn't. Straightens, not open, sorry. Hugging the left hip into the socket. That was that glute work we did with the clamshells. Reaching that arm up, maybe not. You can turn and look up or not. That's not so much the concentration today, right? Really concentrate on that right side waist right now. And then slowly transition back to triangle. Engaging that right side waist, even if you don't go as low, right? Letting go of that. And inhale, come on up. Turn the toes forward and step or jump the feet in. I can't tell you how many students fight me on triangle. And it's not the only way to work it, and it's not the right way. It's a way that helps us learn about our pelvis, our spine, right? The various things, muscles that are turned off that could be working, some that are working that maybe don't need to be, etc. Right? So it's exploration, that's all it is. So if you find yourself getting resistant or hesitant or wanting to keep your finger on the earth or whatever that is, like let go of that and just work it that way for a day and just see if it brings you anything that you can then bring into that when you go in again. Yeah, makes sense? So I'm hoping these muscles right through here have worked and you're feeling some energy there. We have been working in here. I haven't been pointing it out as much, but we have definitely been working in there as well. So let's come down and just do a couple stretches. You can come down however you want to, nothing fancy. Let the legs come on out. We're going to bring that left arm in, bring that right arm up, sink that buttocks down, that right buttocks, and come on over, and hopefully you're feeling a stretch through everything we just worked, or at least most of it anyway, right? And breathing. I can push my left arm and leg together to get a little rotation. That brings it into the side a little bit more than the back. Inhaling up, bringing the right arm in, left arm up, and as I come down and in, again, sinking that left buttocks down so I have that opposition. Maybe pushing right arm and leg together to rotate in, and that often brings it more deeply into the direct side. And breathing, hopefully, wherever you are. And inhaling up, let's go down the center, tone the belly, especially for my more flexible friends. Buttocks staying down as we fold out over those legs, softening in. Forehead can soften down. You could always bring blocks under foreheads, or I like to even come up on my elbows and use my thumbs to come into my third eye center. I've talked about that being very calming for most humans' nervous systems. Push the ground away and come on up. Either Sukhasana with the left shin in front, or you can bring that left leg around and that right leg on top. You can sit on height, get nice and tall, and already you might be feeling that outer thigh hip area. Some of us, in order to feel that, we'll find it more if we fold in. I don't have to go very far today. And last week, we had some times in class where I invited you, again, grounding. So you can always build up a block tower to you. Don't ever try to get down to props. Let props come up and meet you where you're at. Inhaling, coming up. Either Sukhasana, right shin in front, or I pull that left leg under, right leg on top. I stack on this side. I definitely need height underneath my buttocks. This is my tightest side today, I just found out. Maybe just simply this. I'm already feeling this. I don't have to go too far here, right? And maybe you fold forward. I would need a higher block tower on this side to get up to me. And the thing I like about building block towers to heads and forward folds, you really can let go of the neck, right? Trust the blocks have you and the weight of the head. Inhaling, coming all the way up. Let those legs go towards the front of your mat. Oh, watch out. No breaking glasses today. If you need to cover anything up, I might actually just cover my feet up rather than putting on sakis again. Go ahead and come on back down. Feel free to do constructive rest pose, feet wide, knees lean in version, or your legs can extend out to straight. We're going to take just a few moments in stillness here. And if you'd prefer to stay up and sit in a meditative posture, that would be okay as well.
And then we have that concentration practice, awareness practice, mindfulness, has many names, all right? But that idea where you have an anchor, vipassana, seeing clearly are other names for it. You have that anchor, maybe the breath, maybe the sensations of the body, maybe the feet against the floor. And when, not if, but when the mind meanders, and you realize it, celebrate that you realized it, and bring it back to your anchor point. Now, my friends at home, you can stay here if you're enjoying it and you have the time. My friends who don't, any movements that you like before you come up? And we'll meet in an upright posture or not. Hands in front of the heart. Inhale. Exhale as you bow your head. So much gratitude to yourself for showing up in this way. So much gratitude for these healing practices. Namaste. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. And may all beings everywhere have all of those things as well.